Welcome to episode 18 of the super awesome Rex Chapman Show and the pretty awesome Josh Hopkins. Right?
You could probably do better than that, like on my side.
Welcome to the episode 18 of the Rex Chapman Show with pretty awesome, sometimes kind of dorky Josh Hopkins. No? Pretty good?
Last time. Just try it one more time.
Okay.
One more time.
Welcome to the super sexy Rex Chapman Show with pretty crappy Josh Hopkins. Is that it? Did I hit it?
I'll take it. Let's move on.
Okay. All right. What's up, man? Hey, did you read anything this week by chance? Book club. We should do book club.
Let's do book club. It's kind of where we let people know, interesting things we're reading. I didn't actually read anything this week and did this week. Missed it. Did you?
No, big week. Suns are in the finals, and I'm using all of my mental energy on that. So I didn't read anything.
Okay, well, that's been book club. Well, but it's been a lot going on, Rex. The finals.
The finals.
You are excited. Your Suns in the finals. Who had the Bucks and Suns in the finals in the beginning of the year? Who was that? Who did that?
Probably only you and I. Because
we were always like
Bucks and Suns. Collision course.
I was like, I think the Bucks will get past Atlanta in the conference finals. Remember I was saying that?
Yeah.
At the beginning of the season.
Well, you also said I got a feeling Trey's going to get an ankle injury. And so you knew everything.
Weirdly, I was like, because the refs stand so close.
You did.
Remember? I was like, you could step on a foot.
Yep. And what happens? And then we kind of called Giannis's injury too. I mean, left knee
extension of the knee. We were like,
the left knee.
He could land weird.
Right.
Speaking of that, real quickly, you've played it, you've done it, but it seems like to me from watching sports all these times, you see these bad injuries and you see a knee buckle or go the wrong way. I wasn't too worried about, I've seen a lot of times that hyperextension, it goes really far, it looks awful, and it definitely is an injury. But since there's no side to side movement in it, it's not like a ACL, MCL, your knee explodes, 8 months of rehab. It's like a ow. And then you kind of let it, but no structural real damage. That seems to be the case most often. Do you agree or not?
That seems to be the case, and it seems to be the case with Giannis. It looked awful, of course. I think you got to take into consideration his body makeup too. He's such a long athlete, and the thing that can really happen when even if there's nothing structurally wrong, is you can get a deep bone bruise when those two bones run up under one another. And, for him and the way he plays, especially given that he can't shoot, his legs are so important. And that's his lift leg, his left leg, right hand. It'll be interesting. I don't think he'll play in game one. I'll be shocked if he plays. I really will.
Really?
I don't. Yeah. And even if he plays, how effective can he be? Normally this would be a month thing anyway. I mean, you wouldn't come back from this in a week.
Not in the regular season.
Not in the regular season. You just wouldn't. So even if he comes back, it'll be interesting to see, how well he's able to play.
Do they have a chance? Do the Bucks have a chance if he doesn't play? Yes.
Yes, they do. I mean, they've got pros. Drew Holiday, that's kind of the X factor is Drew. He's such a great player, but he's really selfless. And for them to have a real chance, if Giannis doesn't play, he's got to be more selfish and come out of his natural personality. And that's fine to do for a game or two. But when that's your default, for him to do that 4, 5, 6, 7 games and try to go out and get 30 every game when he's the best defender too on their team, and that he's got to be chasing Booker or Chris. And that's the other, I think, dilemma that they have. Who guards Devin? PJ Tucker?
This is your department.
I think that
either way, you're gonna you can't switch off to one and then to the other so you can get rest. I mean,
right.
Paul and Booker are going to run you ragged no matter who it is.
I think they've got a decision to make, because PJ can weirdly guard Kevin Durant pretty well, and they let him get up under Kevin and use his hands. They won't let him do that on Devin Booker, and I don't think that's a good matchup for PJ. So it means that Jrue probably has to guard Devin Booker and then someone else. And who is that someone else who's going to guard Chris Paul? Pat Connaughton? I like Pat, but so, and I mean, with Dante DiVincenzo being out, and nobody's talking about that a lot. He hurt his foot a couple of months ago, out for the year. That really hurt them. Yeah. Then with Giannis out, man, I'm fired up.
Let me ask you this, though. This is interesting because you said Middleton needs to step up. I mean, Jrue Holiday. But I know he's sad that Giannis is out. They want to be there fully, but is there a part of a guy like Middleton that's excited now to be the man? He knows he has to step up. He knows he has to shoot and score. Not like should I or defer or whatever. Is there a part he could emerge from this thing as a bona fide star?
He could, again. And he's terrific. I love Chris Middleton, and he's a bitch because he's 6'8" and big. You know, he's a matchup problem. The thing is, the Suns have a pretty good answer for Chris in Jay Crowder. Jay is a versatile defender. I'm not sure the matchups really work in Milwaukee's favor without Giannis. Now, the one thing they can do, though, they can play really big. You know, they can play. Brook Lopez is essentially a two guard anymore. Was drafted as a back to the basket 5, made the all-star team that way, and has transitioned into being just an unbelievable 3-point shooter. So it's going to be a fascinating series. I'm in Phoenix. I got here thank you, buddy. I got here last night on my flight. Steve Smith, and Maria Taylor been in the news a little bit here in the last few days. She has. But just an exciting time. I'm gonna hang out, and then my game day prep. I'm gonna go swim. Then I'm gonna go. I got an NBA TV hit down at the arena around 4:00, and then I may just go and sit in my seat and wait until every person's in there. Oh, I love that
big games. Remember the championship game in 2012? We got there as early as we could. We got to our seats and just 30 minutes on the clock. And then they'll reset it for the 30 minutes of warm up. I mean, we were there
we were. Oh, it's so good.
Look at that ball boy. I mean, we were there.
We were, man. Yeah. I can't believe the Suns are in the finals. It just seems kind of surreal. I don't know. It probably seems that way for many Suns fans in the Valley. But wow, what an experience. What a year. Just kind of, over the last year. Oh, and today we're going to get back into a little stuff with James Jones. We're going to run some of the old James Jones stuff when we get into it. I'm
glad about that because, I mean, you set him up. You asked him if he had the pieces, and he gave a great answer and kind of intricate, went down and said why. I mean, I'm interested in reviewing all that too now that they're in the finals. I got to be honest, when he was like, I think we got the pieces, I was like, he thinks he's got the pieces. They don't have it. No, I was like, no, after they've been playing and played all year, but I didn't think they had the pieces, to be honest. And then as much as anything, the culture change that he's helped inspire.
Absolutely. No question. Robert Sarver hired James Jones 3 years ago. James went out and signed Monty Williams. And had he not signed Monty would probably be coaching the Lakers because they were coming after him as well. And then, go back a year. This team's maybe arguably been the best team in the NBA since the bubble. They went 8-0 in the bubble, barely missed the playoffs. And then they won 51 games this season. They've won 12 more in the postseason now. Obviously, a lot of that credit goes to Chris Paul. bringing in Chris Paul that last summer, just
that ultimately
kind of sets the table for everybody else.
James Jones ultimately did that. He knew that would be a culture change and went after the right guy. I mean, that's him that made that decision.
Yeah.
And he was right. Paul's helped change the culture.
He sure has. I mean, at a perfect time in Chris's career, you know, where people are going to listen to everything he says. He's a top 5 point guard in the NBA, maybe all time, you know, top 10 anyway. He's a leader. I think it's his time. The other, I think, signing that doesn't get talked about enough, they went out and signed Jay Crowder last summer to a very friendly deal. You know, I'm sure Jay wasn't too thrilled about it at the time, but man, he's landed in a perfect spot. And I don't know if you know this, Jay Crowder's dad is Corey Crowder. And Corey Crowder was recruited by my dad, Wayne Chapman, in college, and from a little town in Georgia. And Corey came to Kentucky Wesleyan, won a national title, was Division II Player of the Year one year. And so I go way back with Corey. I'm so excited to see Jay do this. Jay's bigger. Corey was about 6'4", 6'5". Corey played in the NBA as well. Played for the Jazz for a year and then played overseas. So bit of a family affair going on. I just love it. No question.
I'm excited about this for, you know, we're Kentucky guys. Devin Booker, man, he's got a chance to come out of this thing as a crossover star. He's been a big star in the NBA and everybody knew it, but nobody watches him play. The Suns have not been good for the entire time he's there till recently. And the average fan, I mean, depending on your definition of average, some people don't really know his game. He's got a chance to come out of this, and people that don't watch the NBA will know his name, like an all-state commercial guy, like people like Chris Paul. People know his name that don't even know basketball that well. He's got a chance here to become a bona fide superstar.
Yeah, like a lot of people will get to know him after this. I mean, probably nobody knows him outside of basketball. I mean, he's dating one of the Jenners. Right?
Yeah, but that's who most people would say. Oh, you mean that guy that's right. Jenner? Right. That will switch. That will change a bit.
He plays baskets or something, right? Plays baskets.
But if he's MVP of the finals of the NBA that they win, then it's a different script.
You know, I just find it funny. It's a great point, Josh. I find it not funny. I just find it amusing that he played on such bad teams. I think he had something like 70 teammates in his first 4 or 5 years in the NBA. And he had like 4 or 5 coaches. And, you know, the teams weren't good. And the narrative was, yeah, he can do all that in the regular season. He can get 20 points a game, but he can't, can he play in the postseason? Can't get a team to the playoffs, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, he's 24. He's 24. And now look at him. Everybody just shut up. Everybody just shut up. Man broke his nose. He plays both ends. Took the mask off. Got hit in the nose a couple more times. By the way,
that looked bad. When he got hit again, I was like, "Oh, that would hurt."
He really sticks his nose in there, Josh. Yeah. So, I'm fired up. I don't know if anybody can tell which team I'm going to root for, but I'm going to root for one of them.
Mm-hmm. Well, yes. Mm-hmm. Not impartial.
You know, I am a little concerned about Chris Middleton. I was looking up some of his stuff earlier, and when he shoots it well, like, you know, when he's shooting the 3-ball well at a high percentage, oh, man. And I think he shot something in the games they've won in the playoffs. He shot like 60% from 3. And the games they've lost, it's like 20%.
Right.
So he's going to have to step up. But, man, it's going to just what a fun time. And then, you know, I think listening to James Jones today, it's going to, a couple of
before we get right to that, I want to get your take now that this whole NIL thing is super official. It started at every school. It's no one knows what is going on. No one knows where this could branch off to. What's going on? Do you know? Does anyone know the rules? What are the rules? They don't seem to be specified.
I think every school's trying to kind of make their own, little blueprint. But it appears that it's just the wild, wild west. Athletes, if somebody offers them some money to do something, it seems like they're going to be able to take advantage of that. I'm sure a lot of it's going to have to go through the right channels at the universities. But man, what an exciting time. And I do find it kind of funny that since this is kind of broken in the last week or two, how many more people seem to be on the athlete side than were on the athlete side before?
Right.
Almost like people are going, man, you guys could have been doing this the whole time.
Yeah.
No shit, Sherlock.
Yeah. Well, you've been preaching it a long time, but here's my question. It's since the rules are so broad, no one really knows. It happened so quickly. The NCAA was like, yeah, you can do it. And there it's like, unless some basketball related, whatever, but it's human nature. People are going to take advantage of it because there's no rules.
Capitalism.
Someone's going to be the first. Yeah. So what's to stop, the guy who's the big booster at State University to go, I want you to come in and give a speech to my workers, and I'll give you $25,000 because for motivational speak, and you'll get a class credit for it because like what, and the 25 grand is just because could I say 100 grand? Could I say what, and do we say that before the kid comes? What's to say, Nike says, we'll give you a deal if you go to so-and-so school. Say Kentucky's a Nike school, right? And say to the kid, look, you can, if you go to Kentucky, we'll give you, $100,000. We're Nike. But what if Nike says, but if you go to Oregon, we'll give you $250,000? Where does this go?
I don't know. I don't know that there's anything stopping anybody. I really don't. The other day I saw a young man, I think, signed a deal, and with it's not PetSmart, but like a pet store. Right. Said he was going to donate half of his money to charity. I'm like, this is great. This is great. I saw another quarterback from, I don't know where again. He's going to do Cameo, $50 a pop, and donate all that money away.
Well, to
charity.
Right. But
I think that's beautiful.
I've seen a lot of the kids signing up on that, and that is very cool. But it's like beautiful. Me. I want to go to all the Kentucky kids' cameos. I don't even want to do a cameo. I just want to be like, here's $20. First time I can really show you my.
That's right. I can pay them.
Yeah. No, but what's the point of? But if they say we're going to give it to charity, that's great. But do they set precedent that their teammates that aren't stars can't really follow because they need the money? It's like it's tough.
I saw the argument the other day that one of the administrators was making, saying we have to make sure that there's not like a hierarchy in the locker room. Guess what? There's always a hierarchy in the locker room. And even if you're talking about, just there's an hierarchy as players. Sure. And then, there's people on the team who are better than the other guys who are going to get more opportunities, more media, more all of that stuff. So
you mean like regular life?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just like regular life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Merit-based shit. Yeah. And so I understand what they're saying, and this is a shock to the system for a lot of people. It really is. I'm anxious to see how the fans respond to it. Once we get into playing, if there's any pushback from fans, I don't think that there really will be. It's just going to be, it's a new day. And for one, I know back in the day, I could have made a ton of money playing with the NIL. Man, I'm just glad that these these young men and women can do this now, because it does. The thing that's always bothered me about it, it's not, I was able to go on and play professionally. Very lucky and fortunate to be able to do that. But almost none of my, teammates in college did. But they spent every minute lifting, doing all the same stuff I did. But then their 4 years are up and we'll see you later. No insurance, no pension, no nothing. And forget about basketball for a second. Football, you got to go to school and play for at least 3 years of college when you play football. Playing that sport, ACLs and necks and backs and all of that stuff, same CTE the NFL players are getting. And then you get out of school and you've got no pension and no insurance. That's a whole different deal. So, if those young men could make some money when they're in college, that's great. That helps. That helps tremendously. Save some money. And if you don't make it, then, hey, you've also made some business connections along the way. If you play that game
hopefully,
right.
But, that's they worry about, the kids that are drafted and the money they make and how are they going to do it? Is someone going to be there to help them invest, and not just, in your day, some of the players said they just went and cashed a check, like there was no structure. And now there's much more in it, but these kids are even more immature than rookies going into the NBA and whatnot. I mean, how are they going to deal with this money? And hopefully institutions will have someone to help them.
That's the great point, Josh. I think that's the key. NBA players, NFL players, unless you studied finance in college, which almost none of us did, you have no understanding, unless you came from some money, and most of us didn't come from money. So, I think to be able to get these young men and women thinking about these things while they're in college as young people, I think there's an opportunity for the schools to really set a good example and start teaching these young people about how to handle money.
Yeah,
it's always it's not been something that schools have wanted to do in the past, because they don't want to encourage kids to leave and know what's going on.
Right. Well, I even think, athletes aside, that they should do that a little more in just high school. Here's how our system works. This is how the money, this is why inflation does this and that does that. Because in high school, I'm not great with it now, but if they could teach just the basics, you just understand it more as you grow, and you have a little grasp about the market and futures. And, I wish they teach a little, that just more practical things they teach, starting in high school.
Agreed. I'm excited, man. I think it's a brand new day for the NCAA. I'm excited for the teams, obviously, but I'm excited for the players. Josh, finals are here. You ready to get into episode 18, buddy?
I am. Well, let's talk about. So we talked to James Jones, the GM for the Suns, a few weeks ago, and he was very forthright and told us it was so interesting because here they are in the finals. He talked about how they built the team. He talked about the culture. He talked, and then ultimately he did say that the owner helped with the culture and is really put in. Have you played? Could you tell the difference in cultures where you played, where the owner was like, "We won a championship," and some owners you could tell were just happy to have a team?
Yes, that's. Yes, I did. I have. It's this is so surreal. Living in Phoenix for as long as I did, and then the Suns being, bad for over a decade. No playoffs. But for it to happen, when such a short time, once they hired James Jones, James hired Monty, and Robert gave him, Robert Sarver's taken a lot of shit over the years.
Sure.
But I would like to remind people that Michael Jordan's taken a lot of shit over the years as an owner. Mark Cuban took a lot of shit as a young owner in this league. Yeah. And you go through growing pains. Robert's business is banking. He had no idea about basketball. He's learned that on the fly. Took some lumps, took some shots, but look at him now. I mean, he gave James and Monty authority to do the things that they wanted to do, and immediately the culture started to change. And the one thing, how you watch a college team and you can tell when that team just has a little magic about them. They love one another. You can see it all the time. That's what's going on with the Phoenix Suns. They love Monty Williams. I mean, like you see, high school players love their high school coach. Yeah. It's kind of like that. So it's really fun to watch. I'm excited to see what's going on tonight, this week. Can't wait.
I can't either. The finals are upon us, and it's no LeBron in the final, no KD, no Steph.
Yeah.
This is a new era. It's no one it's been, I don't know how long since we've had a LeBron or a KD or a Steph or all. This is a new time. It's going to be interesting, and everybody's pretty excited for Chris Paul. He deserves this. He's always been a general, a leader, a unbelievable, crazy competitor, and this is, if he wins this, it cements him in a way. He was already, but in the barbershop way. He's well, he did not win a championship, in the barbershop way, he wins one, and it's a big difference. So everybody's he deserves to be here.
Agreed. And it dawned on me watching the Suns win it last week and go advance to the Western Conference Finals, that my jersey, my number is finally going to be in the rafters in the Suns arena. It's just going to have Chris Paul's name on it.
Well, yeah, that's true. Maybe they'll, instead of hanging the back with it, they'll just hang the front.
Yeah, right.
You can always just point to it.
That's right. Well, let's get into episode 18, Josh, with James Jones, general manager of the Phoenix Suns. Welcome, James. What's going on, buddy?
I'm good, man. It's good to see you, man.
Good to see you. I'm going to jump right in. I know I've probably told you this before, but right when I finished playing in 2000, started working for the Suns. They're in the front office scouting, and you were one of the first guys that they sent me to watch at Miami, and just to watch what you've done. Coming second round pick, 15 years in the league,
14
years in the NBA, 3 titles, correct?
Yeah,
3 titles, and now have taken the Phoenix Suns and kind of morphed them into something that we haven't seen. And I do want to talk about the players, and I want to talk about Robert Sarver for a second. Robert went out this year, and going and getting a player like Chris Paul, an older player, still a great player, all-star. But he's got a big salary. That's a big sandwich to eat. What went into the thought about bringing Chris into the fold this summer? And I'll also say, the best offseason acquisition, I think, but the second best one is Jay Crowder. That's another starter, bang for the buck. So please go ahead, Jay.
Yeah. I mean, well, Chris, Chris is Chris. What Robert said and what he's been committed to is like, how can we help our guys the most? And when you look at Devin, DeAndre, Mikal, Cam, Dario, we have all of our guys. Like when you talk about all of our guys, Robert's focus was like, how can I help these guys the most? Like, these guys are committed to giving us everything. How can I give them everything that they need to succeed? So go get the best coach you believe can coach this group, and then go and get the best player that you think can help us the most. And luckily for us, Chris was available, and what we had built was something that he respected, and he felt like, hey, I could thrive there. So going and getting Chris, that was Robert saying, hey, whatever it takes to help our guys, I want you to explore and I want you to get it done. It's just that simple. Wasn't complex, wasn't anything beyond saying he understands that for young guys, they need leadership. And, that's been my charge. Go and find us leaders that can help our young guys reach their potential. And then you talk about Jay Crowder. Robert was a driving force behind Jay Crowder. Roberts watched Jay Crowder, played against him, didn't like it, because Jay's a real tough team first guy, but he just always saw Jay's competitive spirit for the team. And he felt that after years of having an environment where young guys are trying to prove themselves, and by nature, young guys are selfish because they're just trying to find their way and they have to worry about themselves to make it to the second contract. Robert was like, I want someone who's beyond that. I want someone who's above that. I want the best teammate, the best competitor we can find, that will give our group the toughness that we need. And that was Jay. And so same thing. Robert was like, hey, whatever it takes to get Jay Crowder, I think we should do it. And we got it done. So without those two guys, we wouldn't be where we are today, because they are our starters. They are the guys with experience, but they're two of the best teammates these guys could ever hope for.
Dude,
speaking of Chris Paul, real quick,
yeah.
Because obviously he's an all-timer and an all-time competitor and a team guy. I mean, he'll scrap, he'll get into it. He gets up on people. How much of his talent has been really the turnaround? How much has it been his leadership? I know it's both, but which trumps the other?
You know what is crazy? He's balanced because we need them both equally. If you watch the way he plays, Chris has the ability to give us exactly what we need when we need it. And there are games where it's just leadership, just talk the guys through and let them go there. And then you'll have another game like we just had recently in New York where he's like, my talent needs to take over this game for us because our young guys aren't ready for this moment yet. And
he sure did.
He's been doing that. He's been doing that all year. And so every time I want to look and say, hey, you know what? Our young guys can carry us and Chris is leading us. I'm proven wrong the next day when it's like, hey, we need Chris's talent. We need him to score. We need him to dominate for us to even have a chance. And like a fighter, he answers the bell every single time. So that's why he's unique. That's why he's one of the greats, because I don't think there are very many guys in the league that can do what he does as consistent. He can do the things that he does on a consistent basis when it's called for inconsistently, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Because it's not the same thing every night. Our young guys, we're having games where 3 of our guys are really, really scoring and he doesn't need to do anything. And then we'll have games where those guys are great in the first quarter and it looks like they're headed towards a good night. And before you know it, the bottom drops out of it. And now we need Chris, hey, we need you to have your fingerprints and handprints on the next 10 possessions. Give me 6 made buckets, 2 free throws, 4 assists, and 2 steals. And to have those types of runs without changing his approach drastically, to do it in the moment, is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
You've got Ayton, Booker, CP3, Jay, guys that you've sort of targeted as your guys. But as you look around from the outside looking in, your player development is killing it. I go back a year and a half. Mikal Bridges' jump shot, I couldn't even look at it. Javon Carter's come in. He's playing campaign. You got Torrey Craig. You got guys that can start, that are sitting on your bench sometimes and don't even get in the game. But they're Cam Johnson. He continues to get better. What is it about your player development that's allowing? Because Mikal's jump shot improvement it's dramatic. How did you get there?
Well, it starts with the guys, having players that are invested in their own improvement. That's the first step. And then secondly, there's no ego about it. We all have our ideas of what a player should be and what we want them to be. But at the end of the day, our job is just to help these guys improve. And we're taking what they do well and what they want to do, and we're empowering them to do more of it. So rather than come in and fix a guy's shot and say, we're going to tear your shot down and break your shot down and tell you how to be a player, who am I to go and tell a guy who's, for 22 years been the best player on his team and had tremendous success? Who am I to say, hey, this is how you have to do it? That's kind of arrogant, so we take a different approach where it's we have our ideas of what should be done, but we want to be effective more than right. So for Mikal, he's a guy who, has improved his jump shot, and he was hitchy. He had tried some things that had gotten him derailed, and it's not like, hey, those things that you've done are wrong. It's, hey, let's get you back right. What does it take? What do we need to do to get you to a point where you're comfortable shooting it? Shooting it the way you want to shoot it. And so just gentle nudges and improvement. We have an improvement philosophy. I always talk about develop. I said this the other day, when you're talking about developing something, you're trying to start from scratch. Where I think our guys appreciate is that we're saying, no, we're not developing anything. We're improving what you already have. And that's acknowledging the work and acknowledging their skill. And that creates the synergy and buy-in from both sides, where it's like, coach isn't trying to tell you what to do. Coach is trying to help you do what you said you want to do. And that's how you build a working relationship. And these guys have been at it. We're a work team. We talk about it all the time. Chris will tell you, he likes to be the first guy in the gym. He likes to work, but Javon Carter's here 2 hours before him, putting up 8,000 shots a week. And, that's not for show. That's just who he is. And so I would say that's who we are. We're a team of guys that want to improve by choice.
It's those little. Go ahead, Josh. I'm sorry. I'm so excited, James.
No, I am too, because we're both Kentucky guys. So I grew up in Kentucky near Rex. And of course, Booker is one of our favorite players in the league. How do you think Chris Paul has helped him in his growth as a professional? And how do you think he can improve? What can he improve upon to get better every year? Because he seems like a finished product at some point.
Well, I think how, like Devin said this before, that iron sharpens iron. I think what Chris does is Chris provides a weight, a counterweight to Devin. For the first time in Devin's career, he goes down at the end of the game. And should he have the ball in his hands, or should Chris have it, depending on the matchups, depending on the way the game is going? And that's not something that, in the past you would dictate it, hey, get the ball to Devin. Now he's figuring it out. And Chris is coming down in transition and saying, hey, you go to the weak side. I got it. For a young player, that's important, because you'll run into moments where regardless of how good you are, the moment is too big for you, because the opponent will take it out of your hands. They can double you, they can trap you, they can pick you up full court, they can make you make another play. And I think Chris has allowed him to be able to accept that and not feel like he is going to hurt the team. Like, the team will lose if I step away, if I get off of it. I'm not letting my team down. And then Chris will say what he needs to say. And not only will he say what he needs to say, he'll back it up. He can be the one to say, hey, this is the way to do it, and let me show you. That's not something Devin's had. But he's also he has the emotional capacity to know when he needs to relinquish, when he needs to let go, when he needs to allow Devin to make the mistakes. Because Chris wants to protect his guys. He doesn't want Devin struggling. It's a point guard's mentality. I got to protect my guys. But he's done a good job, too, allowing Devin to take control. And so when you talk about Devin as a player, how can he get better and continue to grow? There's still that emotional maturity that has to happen. The emotion of the game, the pressure of the game, the competitive nature. I think we still have ways to improve. Him and Chris together in a tandem, I think they just like dueling to see who can get the most technical fouls. At it. But I think that's the next level for him, because from a player standpoint, he's still too young to know how he'll continue to grow physically. And, you look at his skill set, he's adding things to his game every year, within the year, becoming better. So he has a lot of room for growth, but more than anything, I think the mental and emotional maturity is where he can take the biggest steps quickest.
And you played on LeBron. LeBron James has called you the best teammate that he's ever had. Having played on championship teams, man, what traits do you look for in players that I don't know, that lead you to believe that they can help you guys win a championship? And do you guys have the pieces in place to win a title right now?
We do, because I look at winning a title is stacking wins. If you look at it like, okay, I think on a nightly basis, we can beat any team in the NBA. And we just need to do that 4 times out of 7. And I do believe we can do that. That's not to say we will dominate teams, but I do believe if we're in those moments, we're good enough to do it. And so, I believe that. But then just being a great teammate is, I just look for guys that care, man. Like, I look for guys that care about winning, guys that care about their teammates having success. They care. And if you have a high care factor, I think that'll get you a long way.
James, before I let you go, I do want to have you talk for a second about your relationship with Robert Sarver. And Robert's been very, very good to me. You've been very good to me at times, I'm sure, when I didn't deserve it. And so I just want you to talk about Robert a little bit because, look, he's a passionate guy. I've known him since he bought the team. Very passionate guy, wants to win in the worst way. Talk to me about your growth with Robert just as friends over the last few years.
Well, I say there's 2 things about Robert that I appreciate. One, I know he cares, and he says it, and he demonstrates it, and he talks about how much he cares, which means a lot when you're in these positions. And then 2 is he pushes, like Robert pushes. He's not one to let you stay comfortable or remain comfortable. That's just who he is. He's always pushing you to strive to do more. Prodding you. Sometimes you don't like it because it's forceful and it's direct. But you understand in order to make it at this level, you have to be forceful and direct. Players want that. Coaches want that. Everyone just wants clarity and they want you to be direct with them. And so it works well for me. I've grown I've grown tremendously in my time here. Look, I came into the front office with 0 front office experience. A lot of experience with the Players Association. So I've had leadership experience, but not at this level. And Robert's been, instrumental in helping me accelerate my timeline to get caught up to speed. Because I do know those 2 things. He cares. And because he cares, he's going to push me. And it forces you to, move. Like it or not, we know we're creatures of comfort. Everyone wants to sit and, enjoy what they're doing. But Robert doesn't give you that opportunity. He reminds you constantly, we're doing this for something bigger than ourselves. We have a team, we have a city, we have an organization that's relying on us in basketball operations to do our best to give them a team that's representative of what they believe in. And so I can't thank Robert enough for this opportunity. And as long as I'm in this chair, I'm going to continue to push.
Just real quick, I just want to add, Robert, he's taken his share of crap for things over the years here and there. But one thing that he's always done has been his hiring practices. Minorities, women, with the Mercury, with the Suns have always been right at the top. So go, Robert. James, continued success to the Suns, continued success staying healthy the rest of the year. Come back and talk to us after the playoffs, maybe.
Will do. I'll talk to you at some point at the end of July.
All right, buddy.
There you
Thanks,
go.
James.
And that's James Jones.
Yeah,
once again.
that was this. Now looking back, I'm like, oh.
He told us.
Yeah, other GMs might want to watch his pod. Check it out. Executives, like, here's his blueprint.
Yep.
Because it's definitely a blueprint.
Yep. He came on the show with Rex and Josh, and then they went to the finals. That's the recipe, right?
It seems like we might not have shown it in these segments, but didn't we give him a lot of tips?
We did.
Yeah.
I think
we
it's
helped
us.
him out, I think. Yeah.
It's not them. It's not the Suns that are doing it. It's us.
It's
you know
us.
what else? It is.
You're welcome,
us.
Phoenix.
Yeah. Take that. So we had James Jones, episode 18, JJ,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And
Where you going with this?
well, you'll see. Next week, we've got another JJ. JJ Redick.
Evans.
JJ Redick.
Dynamite.
No, not that guy. But
No?
it might be.
Okay.
JJ Redick does the dynamite thing, doesn't he?
Oh, that's not him. Yeah. Jimmy Walker. That's no. Yeah, I can't wait for this.
Right?
I got 1,000 questions.
And he's a
JJ Redick.
dookie. He's a Dookie.
I know. I don't.
Oh, is he our first Dookie? Is he our first Dookie?
Blah. Blah.
All right. Episode 19 with JJ Redick. Episode 19 with JJ Redick. Next week, powered by basketballnews.com. See you next week.